right, well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have each and every one of you here with us today. Today is August 9th, 2022. It is episode 168, and today we're going to be taking a look at trait number 7. So we're going to take a look at leadership. We're going to take a look at leading us into the future. Now, a couple weeks ago, we took a look at the 31 on the other side. Now we're taking a look at the 7. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. So before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Again, we have Andy joining us again. Shelley is still on vacation, so it is such a pleasure to have Andy join us. So welcome, Andy.
Thanks so much, Karen. Thanks again. Great to see you, Anna, and everyone online. I'm Andy. I'm in Calgary. I'm a 5-1 innovator.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Andy, for joining us. And Anna, welcome, Anna.
Hi, all. I'm a 2-4 innovator. It's really fun to be with another innovator. Anyway, welcome everybody.
Exactly. Great for impacting. So, and especially as we're talking about leadership. And again, we've been seeing this theme of leadership through the different types of expression. We are now going to be taking a deeper look here at leadership in the 7. All right. And again, welcome to everyone who is here live in our Zoom room. Again, if you do have trait 7 and you're here live in our Zoom room, we would love to hear from you. Also, if you are live on Facebook, please feel free to type in comments. Also, if you're watching via YouTube or in our free resource library, please feel free to comment as well. So let's dive in. So last week, we took a look at retreat. We took a look at privacy. We took a look at the revelation of secrets, the I remember expression. We have now shifted, and we have now shifted from purpose fulfilled through form to purpose fulfilled through bonding, through connecting. So for these next few months, we're going to take a look at how we connect, how we bond. And one of the ways that we bond is through leadership. So as we take a look at August is about, after reflection, the ability to successfully lead others into the future through logic, perseverance, connection, and hard work. So as we go through purpose fulfilled through bonding, again, think of these as different ways that we bond or connect with others. So we connect with others through leadership, right? In order to lead, you must connect with those who are following. We'll take a look at next week. We'll take a look at formalization. This is youthful folly. This is logic protects us from misfortune. So connecting through logic, connecting through our certainty in creating formulas, connecting through perseverance. Saying yes and persisting despite difficulties has its inevitable rewards. So again, in collaboratively sharing with others, persevering through the times that sometimes can be quite difficult. Achieving union. This is probably the most intimate of all connections in the 59. This is bonding and intimacy beyond words. So achieving union. And then we also have deliverance. So one of the ways that we also connect is through delivering our products, our service, right? This is the power and will to deliver, right? So that's what we're going to be exploring this month. And again, today we're going to take a look at leadership. Leadership is one of the directional traits. It is the direction towards the future and the future of connecting and bonding. It's interesting if we take a look at what grounds the 17, what grounds the 7, well, that's what I meant to say. What grounds the 7 is the 13, that's what I meant to say. And the 13 is of listening. So if we take a look at leadership, a big part of leadership and what grounds leadership is listening, right? Listening to what the people need, what the people want. This is also, when we take a look at 7, it's part of the elected leader, it's part of planning. So we're going to be diving into that quite a bit as well. I also find it interesting. I don't know if you've paid attention over the last many weeks, we've had some form of definition for actually months. So it was quite a surprise to see that there's actually no definition currently if we take a look at the current transit. So I just thought that was interesting as well when there's been so many activations. Remember, we did have the 2343 as part of the past and future direction that had been part of the activations that we've been experiencing really since March. So it's kind of refreshing to be able to have it open once again. All right, so let's take a look at today's theme and let's dive into leadership. So as we take a look at leadership, again in trait 7, this is also the Army. This is the role of self in interaction. This is the elected leader. This is a point of convergence. Again, it's a point of convergence in the leader and the follower moving forward together into the future. And by design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. This is collective. It's logic. And there is a need for leadership. Leadership is built into our very design. And this is the established proven pattern that leads us into the future. So this is being able to look ahead and how do we move safely forward into the future. This is also to be the ability to see when present direction needs correcting in order to get to where we want to go. Right. So part of leadership is being one step ahead and being able to see, what course needs to be corrected in order to move forward successfully into the future. This is also one of the traits in a small group dynamic. So in the unified group, this is the skill of planning within a Penta, which is what the small group is all about. This is the ability to move forward successfully into the future through planning, through research and development, and having the right people doing the right work. So one of the things with the 7, especially when it comes to smaller groups and when it becomes and larger groups and when it becomes a part of planning, if you are not staying in tune with the marketplace, you will eventually go out of business. So you have to plan for the future. You have to have research and development. You have to listen. Again, if we take a look at what's on the other side, is listening to what people want, what people need. So in the business world, that we can really make sure that we are serving our customers, serving our clients, leading them successfully into the future. And if you are a leader, especially our elected leaders, again, listening to what people need, what people want to be able to move everyone successfully forward into the future. So I would love to start with Andy and Anna in taking a look at what is your experience with trait 7. Do you have trait 7 in your design? And how do you experience it if you do, or what have you observed if you do not have it in your design? Let's start with Andy.
Well, I do not have it, but my core essence is the 31, right, which would connect the 7. So, yeah, I think, it's interesting. This resonates. It's the elected leader, which is I have 31.5, which is also a leader that kind of needs to be elected rather than a leader who walks in and takes over, which is very much how I've experienced it. I'm not someone who takes over the room, but when it happens organically, I feel very comfortable leading.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you experience not having a gate? It's always a tricky question. I learn, as I believe innovators do, by observing the charts and people who do. I learn by observing other people. And in terms of planning, yeah, I don't like to plan. I like to have, I like to say, let's go this way. And there are other parts of my chart which likes the detail, but I'm not the one who likes to create the plan, the step-by-step plan.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, that is definitely not in my chart.
And we'll take a look at that in a bit more
Mm,
detail when we take a look at how you're affected when you're connected as well. Now, because what you just said is exactly, if you don't have the 7, you know how that can show up, right? You're not really here to plan. Really, with the 31 on the other side, you're here to execute the plan.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful. Thank you so much, Andy.
yeah.
And and how about for you, Anna? Oh, it looks like you're muted.
There we go. Sorry. What you just said, Andy, is really interesting. I do have the 7. Um, I remember in when I was raising my kids, raising the family unit, a BG5 in the family terms. Um, we had our own little Penta, and there was all kinds of planning, and I loved it. It's fine, as a parent, you're constantly planning. Oh my God, get the lunches for school, or get the shoes for school, or go to the doctor. All that stuff is a lot of planning and organizing, and that was all fine. And when the plan broke down, which plans always do, somebody would be yelling or crying or objecting or something, and then it was time to listen.
Mm,
What's going on here? So this was one of my early experiences with, um, how would I say, trying to lead a Penta, because I'm not necessarily the direct leader. My leadership, um, again, is sort of from the background, from supporting the people that are front and center. I'm to the side or in the back or something, and that's fine with me, because I do often find myself in situations where, in a school, in a group of some kind that fits, I'm asked for my opinion or my advice or guidance or mediation or something. And that kind of leadership I enjoy. I don't have to be, I'm elected periodically, let's say, and then I can do that, and then I can step back. So leadership can take a lot of different forms. And when I'm pulled into the Penta, it's not, I have unconscious 7. So it's something people see in me, but I don't necessarily completely identify with unless I get the feedback that way. So I don't mind leading when it's correct, but it's in spurts. It's short term. It's something I don't want to do long term to be the front man.
yeah. Yeah, beautifully shared, Anna. Thank you so very much. And Andy, I think there's a couple people on Facebook as well.
Yeah, yes, we have 7 people. I guess that includes me. 7 people watching on Facebook. Casey just says she has 7.5 and her personality sun, and Deanne has 7.5 as her south node, her past direction. And she comments that Deanne comments that usually people will see me in times of disaster or problems. They will just ask and follow what I'm doing. I'm a person who just had a strong direction. Whether people follow or not is not my concern. My concern is to problem solve and move through the motions accordingly. And she doesn't like to lead. Oh, yeah, she doesn't like to lead. She follows up with that.
Yeah, yeah. And this is, this kind of leads to very similar to what Anna just said as well. It may be, stepping up in those times when people need the leadership, but maybe not necessarily leading from the front, but really being the support for, in a sense, who is leading from the front as well. So being more of the power behind the throne, if you will, or having that power in that way. And happy birthday, Casey, if you have 7.5, it's right around your birthday. So I think today may be your birthday even. So happy birthday. Excellent.
I'd like to add something.
Yes, please.
My generation has the 7 in transformation in Pluto. And, you know, we were the baby boomer group, you know, very imposing, very lots of ego, good and bad. But we transformed society as a group. You know, we weren't always elected to do that, but the 7 is very transformational in this era, or in the Pluto is a transformational planet energy. And so my generation was very impactful in that transformation. We're still impactful, even though Pluto's in a different position now. You can still feel the effects of what my whole group did. And, you know, we led the world in a very different direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And 7 being in truth and transformation. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Great observation. And yes, Lori, make sure you can speak. There you go.
Thank you. I have the 7 and the 31, and I'd like to echo what Anna said about, I often get asked to lead, but I see my role as empowering others to lead themselves. So I'm always very happy when I can train people to kind of take over. And in terms of planning, I love to plan. And in addition to being a psychotherapist, I'm also an astrologer. So as an astrological counselor, a lot of people come to me and say, when should they invest in the stock market and which sectors, et cetera. And I don't do it myself, but seem to be able to see ahead for others and give them guidance that does work for them.
Yes, exactly. This is about looking forward into the future, and seeing what people need moving forward into the future as well. Yeah, great example, Lori.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there anyone else who is live in our Zoom room who would also like to speak about the 7? I do have trait 7. I actually have 7, 1, 13, and 2. So I have all of the directional traits. And again, planning is something I also love to do. Again, you know, doing the research and developing, seeing where things are moving into the future, in order to plan for them. Sometimes I see things way ahead of when things actually unfold. You know, it's been interesting being a part of BG5 and the BG5 Business Institute. And I started teaching, and really the BG5 Business Institute became the BG5 Business Institute around 7 years ago. So I've been teaching now for more than 7 years, and being able to see the impact of what BG5 can provide. I also, in a sense, sort of planning for the future of where I see also, you know, not only myself, but also the team as part of what trait 7 brings to the team, is that ability to, in a sense, look into the future so that you are able to plan. Again, listening, the 13, what grounds it, listening to what's going on in the marketplace, listening to what's needed, listening to, you know, we've been in a lot of, you know, weird times, and people are looking for leaders, looking for a new plan, looking for a new direction forward. So being able to see that for both the BG5 Business Institute, but also where I also see and provide that that vision, if you will, moving forward into the future of where we as BG5 consultants, those that are studying BG5, where that can really take hold and really can support both individuals, but also businesses, especially in these really turbulent times, especially for business. I mean, if you take a look at you know, how much businesses have struggled over the last few years, again, there's a shakeup, there's a new leadership that's needed and leading from, instead of from the top down, really listening to what people need, and in a sense leading from the bottom up. And so there's a huge change in leaders and in leadership and in how things are being and will be led moving forward into the future. And I think that's one of the one of the really powerful things about BG5 as well as OC16, which is the larger groups, knowing the dynamics of how we are designed to work together as teams, how leaders are designed to lead. That's one of the things that we have this idea, I think, from the era of planning of, excuse me, of how leadership should look like, or what leadership should look like. One of the beautiful things about BG5 is that we can actually see, based on someone's design, how you are specifically designed to lead. This also plays into our public role as well, right? So part of how I personally am designed to lead, I have trait 7, but I'm also designed to lead as an authority and as a pioneer. And so that you can also see this leadership trait sort of resonate or show up also in your public role as well. So it's very powerful, and it's very interesting, all of the stuff going on with leaders within the world, whether there's leaders that are stepping down, leaders that are, that we're scrutinizing or that we're looking at. So leadership seems to be a big theme in the world right now, and part of also what we're exploring, like, what is it really to be a leader, right? So something to continue to ponder. All right.
Can I add
Yes.
another thing?
Yeah, please.
I loved what you just said, and it's been a privilege to be at least in the vicinity of all your planning and developing and all of that. It's quite impressive. And as I was listening to you, I was looking at the army. A leader needs an army, and sometimes, especially as an innovator, Andy, maybe you recognize this, you kind of are out there by yourself at first. You see things other people don't see. But when even just the first person starts to recognize you, if you're really in your decision-making strategy, in your alignment, in your personal authority, that army gathers around you. And in this leadership is good or bad. You can have followers any old place. But part of the nature of BG5 is that you might have a designated elected leader, but the theme is really about your own sovereignty, following your decision-making strategy, having a personal authority, even if there's a front person, an elected person. And that's the really correct way to create your team, run a business, have a partnership, whatever, is that engagement of the army, whatever we call that, the group, the Penta, the OC 16, is allowing the voice of your authentic, authority, your own sovereignty, your uniqueness to speak with and from the leader, whoever the designated leader is. It's not the top down. It's more of a reciprocal relationship with the leader.
Exactly. And each of us is a leader in our own respects, right? All of us lead in different ways, whether we lead by example, or whether we are an elected leader, or whether we, lead through planning, or whether we lead just as our own independent self. There's all different ways of being able to lead. And it's, in a sense, owning the leadership for ourselves also in our own lives as well. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Anna. And let's take a look at what's on the other side, and take a look at, oh, did you want to add something, Andy? Yes, please.
Yeah, there's another comment on Facebook, and then I had a couple of things I was going to say. We'll see if those come back to me. But first, Shirley commented, sorry, I'm just going back up. Shirley has the 7 and 31. And she says she's always planning for the future, which then can stress her out at times.
Mm.
And then she has a question, if I may.
Yes, please.
How do you market for business with the 7 and 31 if you are to be elected?
Ah, that's a great question. It of course depends on the other aspects of your design. So we can't just focus in on one area without looking at the wholeness of who you are. However, when you are operating correctly, and especially in a smaller group, often in a larger group as well, there will be a natural, when you're operating correctly, people will naturally recognize you as a leader. And they will often elect you whether you want it or not. It's one of the things that I've often found within small groups is that I often end up being the leader, even if I don't want to be the leader, because it is a skill that naturally gets brought out and naturally gets recognized, especially in a smaller group. So especially with that particular strength, right? It's the strength of leadership. You probably find when you're in a smaller group, and oftentimes in smaller groups, they're like, okay, pick a leader. And well, oftentimes you'll find that they typically pick you. I don't know if you can relate to that or not. However, when you're operating correctly, it's something that you naturally get recognized for, and people naturally elect you, meaning that, oh, she'll lead. Why don't you take charge, Shirley? So you may find that being the case.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't see a reply from Shirley yet. Maybe she will. Yeah, I wanted to resonate with something Anna said about, well, possibly my own thoughts have got in here too, but that idea of being out there alone, either as an innovator, but also, I think leaders tend to feel alone, like they're out there. And yeah, I've experienced thinking that, feeling I'm alone, like kind of this isn't working kind of feeling, and then realize that a group is forming around it, or oh, I'm not out alone, I'm in front, and people are responding. So that yeah, I resonate with that. I'm hoping it's happening right now in different ways, in different places.
Yeah.
And I also just realized my youngest brother's just had his birthday, and he's 7.1, and he has both the 731 and the 33.8, all conscious. So it explains some frustrations he had with he's 10 years younger than I. So I think it explains times when the kind of older brother figure, especially when we're within a similar organization, he may have felt frustrated that his leadership wasn't able to come through. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Andy. Yeah, really, really fascinating. Again, taking a look at the different types of leaders. Again, with quality 1, this is a leader that leads by authority, right? So, that's again a different type of leadership there as well. All right, let's take a look at how you get affected when you're connected. So taking a look at the shadow of trait 7. So again, taking a look at when you don't have trait 7. So this can be the lack of substance and planning to lead. This is kind of what Andy was alluding to earlier, and not really liking to plan, right? Just likes to execute the plan. So do you find it hard to powerfully lead others forward because you don't have a plan? And does your influence seem empty because you don't have a solid plan for the future? So again, you may seem just like an empty voice with no plan to lead the collective forward. Your voice of I lead is not heard until backed up by the energy of the majority. The I lead means influencing others for good or for ill, as Anna was mentioning earlier, by effectively transferring your plan to a new trustworthy pattern that can be carried out. However, without trait 7, you do not have a solid plan for others to carry out. Right? So again, this is one of the things of why we are designed to also work in collaboration. We're not designed to have it all, Now, if you do have trait 7 and you do have 31, you can put together the plan and you can put the plan into action, right? So you do have the plan to back it up. But oftentimes, and also often within a small group, you have one person that has the 31, you have one person that has the 7, and together one person creates the plan and the other person is able to administer the plan, is able to activate the plan. So the solution is that you are designed to work with others who can help you create a solid plan to lead the collective forward. This is why the 7 is often the power behind the throne as well, because the 7 is what creates the plan. And just like what Anna was talking about, may not necessarily want to be the person up front delivering the message, but can be in the background, in a sense, being able to create the plan for the leader to then implement. So oftentimes, leaders may not create the plan themselves, but they are responsible for implementing the plan. So Andy, I'm curious as to how this resonates for you.
It definitely resonates, and for me, it's a great example of what we mean by the shadow. This is where in the past I felt like there's something missing or I wasn't really a leader. And sometimes it's me feeling that, and sometimes I think it's been projected that you can't do that bit of the leading and not do this, or that's not what leading is. So this idea that we're meant to have it all, or there can be different hierarchies, different things going on, like people fighting for the leadership. So that's when these projections can happen, or so the key thing here is not making ourselves wrong, right? And perhaps not being attached that this team has to work. Maybe things need to shift, roles need to shift, or people need to go. And I definitely in the last few years, I think just before discovering BG5, but especially since, I'm really seeing the importance of collaborations moving forward. Mm-hmm. Although I'm independent assimilation and an innovator, I have no illusions anymore that I'm meant to just be this island working alone. I'm very actively seeking collaborations and learning, and trusting that where I end up leading is what I'm meant to do, and not judging myself for what I'm not doing. So this feels very relevant right now.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, Andy, because again, if we are missing a trait, right, it can show up as a shadow. And just like Andy said, it feels like we have to have it. And you think often with a leader, the leader also has to have a plan, right? If the leader doesn't have the plan, right, they have the 31, but they don't have the 7, like there's nothing wrong. However, they do need to work in collaboration with someone who does have the 7. It's not that they don't have a plan. It's just that they need someone to support them in creating the plan. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, again, we work much more powerfully in collaboration and working together than we do as individuals, when each person has and takes on that specific role. So for example, the 7 is there to plan, but it's not there to administer. And so if the 7 is trying to administer, it's going to run across problems if you don't have the 31, and vice versa, right? If the, you think you should have a plan, you're really working hard, to have a plan because you think you need to have a plan, and the plan's not coming together and you're making yourself wrong, right? You're not designed to. And that there is so much freedom there. Mm-hmm. Like you're not designed to create the plan. You're designed to look for someone else to help you create the plan, and a plan that you can then administer, but you're not designed to create the plan. And it's really, part of what we look at in BG5 is, in a sense, what is your job and what is not your job. And when you can fully own what your job is and, allow others to support you in those areas where you're not strong, then everybody wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I may, one thing that came up as you were speaking, one of my shadows or issues, I think, has been getting lost in detail. And I think this has been an area where I'm trying to fill this gap. I feel like I should create the plan when I have an idea.
Mm.
And then I get lost in the detail in the woods. And that's when, yeah, I felt wrong or been made to feel wrong, rather than understanding everything you've just described. And that's what's actually needed or what is actually happening.
Yeah.
Really validating is one of the things for human design. BG5 for me has been the validation of what's actually been going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful, Andy.
Another
yeah,
comment
Oh, yes, please.
to what you just said, Andy, is very valuable when you were talking about, I mean, all of it, but when you were talking about, can't remember your exact words, but sometimes the leader and then the army gathers, the people gather around you and something's not working. That's a normal process. It doesn't mean you're not working or the thing isn't working. It just means it's time to adjust. And it is normal for the group to gather and then disperse, or gather and disperse. And when you have a really solid Penta, sometimes that's enduring, but you still have to adjust certain things to keep updating, to keep listening, to keep seeing the future, to keep forward motion. So the beauty, again, as you already mentioned, of BG5 is that there isn't anything wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. And it's a huge relief when you know what you're not here to be, what you're not here to do, especially in a Penta plan, in a business plan.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm here to create the plan. I'm not so good at administration. And it's good to know that. Exactly. And yes, Leanna.
Thanks, Karen. Loving listening to everyone today. I just wanted to say, just to add, Andy sparked me and then Anna added to that, just around being at work, because I'm experiencing this right now. I have a leader and they're leaning on me to come up with a plan. I have the 7, I don't have the 31. So I was really feeling the feels at work this week, like just really thinking about it. So this is perfect timing. I wanted just to share, just to invite people to consider, instead of keeping BG5, because we can be nervous to introduce this information at our workplaces. We can get into our heads, wonder if people are going to think we're kooky, or they're going to, think something about us that we don't want them to think. We don't want to change people's perceptions of us in a negative way. I live in this space, so people expect it from me. But the ability to educate those that we work with. And you know what, you've sparked me today. This live has really been supportive, because I'm going to ask my leader if I can, I'm going to tell her about BG5 and ask her if I can have her birthday information, because I'd love to see if, just to tell her, I want to have a look at your strengths and how my strengths can support your strengths, so that we move into success with clarity. Because I did feel that, because it is shadow, so if we do have the trait as shadow, definitely a shame spike can occur. If someone points it out at work, what happens is, for a lot of us, we get this, it's almost like a hot shame or a feeling of shame in the body and a contracting inwards. So the shadow can often make us, when it's activated, if someone points it out, or if we become aware of it ourselves, there's this contracting in, a shrinking down. And the way that we flip it is we name it, we honor it, and then we talk about, we just share, we inform, right? And we educate, we definitely educate. So this is what I'm incredible at, that will blow your mind. And this is where I need you to come in and step in and work with that strength to provide your own. So it's definitely an education piece at work. And what I have found in myself, which means it's probably happening around me as well, is that I'm more hesitant to share at work than I am in my personal life, like at work in professional settings,
Mm,
because there's this old conditioning, right? There can be a little bit of
mhm.
old conditioning that I don't know. What do you think, Karen? What would do you feel what I'm saying? That there can be a hesitancy to share it in quote unquote professional workplaces. And yet when I do share it, they go crazy for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I've noticed in teaching this for 7 years is that each year people are more and more open to it. I just worked with a large organization here recently, um, in the aerospace industry, and people are becoming more and more open to it. People are looking for solutions, and imagine being able to work in an environment where people really recognize what is innately us, what our strengths are, and honor our strengths, but also honor those things that, I'm not good at administering things. That's just not, I don't have the 31, right? But knowing that, right, I can work with someone who has the 31. So knowing the power of, and again, especially as leaders, sometimes leaders try to overcompensate in areas that they think that they're lacking. And people can feel it, and it becomes inauthentic, and it inhibits their ability to lead. If they know, you know what, I'm not very good at putting together plans. I need to hire someone who can help me put together a plan so that I can lead successfully. That can make all the difference. And, if we, again, it's just getting comfortable with the information itself. And that, I think, it's one of the beauties of BG5 is it really is designed for business. And it is, in a sense, in the language of business, that it makes it more palpable, more easier to or easier to share, and easier to start to see the impact. Especially if you share just little pieces of how someone design works. It really is quite validating, just like what Andy was saying earlier.
Can I add, Karen?
Hmm.
One thing I just
Please.
got really strong was imagine that I feel the sadness, the emotion around it. Imagine, because we would all relate to this, I'm pretty sure, the times when we've left roles or have felt we didn't fit somewhere because we didn't have this information.
Hmm.
Like, and so, you know, and I've worked on a team where this young boy knew what he wanted to do, but because the team, from top down, the top down organization wanted to marginalize, right? What, because the era of planning, it's just how you sort of ran business. They wanted to marginalize the team to make everyone the same,
Mm.
through fairness, through, like, there was different things that they were sort of looking at. But what they missed was very clear employees feeling a body sensation drive towards certain things and a disdain towards other things, like doing other tasks and roles within the organization. So instead of supporting these beautiful employees to do what felt right for them, they literally made them do the opposite to try to
Mm.
build, to try to, like, teach them to be more comfortable in the other role. And guess what? They quit.
Yeah.
Of course they quit. Of course they quit. So how many times, how many jobs have been lost? How many moves have been made? Shifts on teams that didn't have to be done, that cost money,
Yeah.
time, and energy to retrain, only to do the same thing over and over again, is try to marginalize someone.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are the ones that understand BG5, that are here. It is an honor, and I would encourage us to look at it even as a little bit of a responsibility, but in a positive way, that we have this information that we get to share if we can move out of our own uncomfortability the first time we may introduce it. And I'm putting my hand up as a challenge to say, I invite and maybe even challenge us to move out of our comfortability. You did, Karen, in doing your whole thing for that incredible team you just mentioned,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I just want to say that I'm going to do that for myself this week. I'm going to move a little bit, out of my uncomfortable zone and take a step further out to share this even more.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the power of this. I know I've been in several business workshops where it's okay, write down your weaknesses, and then how do you think you can strengthen your weaknesses? So it's kind of like, it's like taking a look at what you don't have and, trying to make it better versus focusing really on what your strengths are and empowering your strengths and those things that you're not good at, simply not your job, right? Find someone who really is good at that. And the more in business that we can honor that, I know, from the era of planning, businesses have been more about doesn't really matter if you like what you do or not, right? We're giving you a paycheck, you do what we say, right? That's kind of been the era of planning. That's not going to work moving forward into the future because it really is about honoring each person's uniqueness, and the more that you can do that, the productivity and the fun of being able to work and the retention at the workplace. Like you said, it costs money to replace staff. And so when you really speak to people's weaknesses, or when you really speak to people's strengths, right, and recognize where their weaknesses are and not blame them for the weaknesses, it's just not a part of their design, and that's okay. Find someone who can do that role with that particular strength, with that particular trait, and find others that complement that. And when you have that complementary chemistry within a team, that makes teams really fun. And then you enjoy going to work because one, you're making a difference, but two, oftentimes you're going to work just because you enjoy the people that you work with, regardless of what you do. And so, that's where, that work becomes fun, and that we're living our purpose, we're living what we're designed to do. And again, this is, we're now entering purpose fulfilled through bonding. And oftentimes work is simply that social connection as well. That is just as important, if not even more.
Karen, can I say one last thing? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
please.
It's really strong. I want to get it out of me. I just feel really strongly that we have a moment here in time, we have a chance, an opportunity to really honor how much conditioning has gone on for us in the workplace, just as part of life. And I realize it's not the conditioning around, it's not about the BG5 information. It's about the conditioning in the workplace from all the years that we've worked with teams or with other people, when we have just been conditioned over and over to separate our essence, to just suck it up and do the job. Exactly what you said. Encouraged to try to focus on the weakness to improve that instead of permission to do what we do best. I'm just really wanting to honor anyone who's on the call, and myself, of course, just to honor that what that has felt like, and at times how hard it has been, and to recognize that work has been a place of high conditioning.
Yeah.
And an opportunity to really honor that, and to not to feel that that's conditioning, and that doesn't have to continue forward into the future, that you can let that go and really honor that that has been the past, but the future can be very different.
Yes, exactly. And a new future is going to require a different type of leader. And so I think, this is a very important conversation, especially talking about leadership, because if you have leadership that recognizes and honors differences, right, recognizes and honors strengths, you have a very powerful leader that can help us help lead us forward into the future as well. Yeah, thank you so much, Leanna. Well, beautiful. Well, here in just a moment, I'm going to ask our panel, what should people look at, or look kind of taking a look at the past week, taking a look at the next couple of days, and how leadership has shown up, or what to look for as far as leadership continuing to move forward into the future. Again, one of the things that I do recommend is that if you are curious, do you have trait 7 or do you have 31 in your design? You can get a free report from our website. You can visit the BG5businessinstitute.com. You can get a free chart or a free report. Also, you can watch our past episodes in our free resource library, also on YouTube. And again, we have our courses coming up in September. Would love to have you join us. And the best place to start is in the BG5 Foundation Course. So would love to have you join us in the BG5 Foundation Course. All right. So for our panelists and for our guests, what should people pay attention to in taking a look at trait 7, and specifically taking a look at leadership, both leadership for yourself personally, but also in looking at leadership out in the world? So Andy, would you like to start us off?
Sure. What came to mind as you were asking the question was the different kinds of leadership. So do you lead best by being a role model? Do you lead best by showing that you're not afraid of trial and error? Are you the person that has that great attention to the detail? So kind of reminding people of the detail, or perhaps a combination of through role model, paying attention to detail, leading in terms of this is how we do things, kind of, really it all starts with awareness, right? Without trying to be aware of what's actually going on, and being honest with ourselves about what happens in a moment when we make a choice, and what feels comfortable and what doesn't. Without that, no system really matters if we're not paying attention in the moment and making different choices based on that. So I don't know if that came through, but I was suggesting take a look at what works best, what feels right for you when you're leading. Is it one of the ones I mentioned? Is it something different?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Pay attention to how you yourself lead and how you're designed to lead. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Andy. How about for you, Leanna?
Sorry, I'm just giggling because my friend Mel, who's on the call today as well, she's open. 7 and 31 is open, undefined. She I saw her yesterday and she was like, God, and she's the leader of she has one of the leadership roles in her workplace. And she was like remunerating, like going through what a hectic few days it has been, where her leadership has been very tested and really put to work. And I didn't realize the 7 was online. I didn't realize the 30. So, yeah, I didn't realize the 7 was transiting. So now I understand. So I would say be on the lookout for where you're being invited or pressured or just activated into a role of leadership that maybe normally is not as intense, and just being aware that this will pass, like that you're just moving through it, so you don't have to grab onto that with like, is this how it's going to be now? No, it was just activated. Funny, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your leadership or leadership around you may have been challenged or called into question as well. Yeah, thank you, Leanna. How about for you, Lori?
I've been just noticing worldwide that leaders around the planet seem to be faltering and very shaky. And I don't know if it's just the 7 or the fact that we're moving toward 2027, but I think we need to look at self-leadership now as much as group leadership, because people seem to be breaking away from a little bit from the groups, or corporations maybe, or governments, and more leading themselves. And I also had a question for everybody, without any strengths defined this today anyway, or this week. I know Leanna just said that things were more busy for her friend, but I've noticed that things are there's a hush, that there's a lot of things are not fully connecting, or they're in a waiting period, and people aren't pushing as much, perhaps because of that. I just wondered if anyone else noticed that.
Yeah, I've noticed that for myself too. Yeah, really great observation. So again, there may be, there may be a connecting up of how it affects your own personal design, or there may be, in a sense, sort of this waiting, almost like feels like something's going to happen, but I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. It kind of feels that way, at least for me anyway.
Yeah. Have you calculated when we get some definition again?
No, I haven't. I just took a look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very curious.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a little different because we haven't had it for a while.
Yeah.
Because we had so much definition for quite a while. So
It feels like a nice break. It would be nice if it would be a few weeks at least. If I figure it out, I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And Anna.
I like all of the wrap-ups. Just to add something new, a lot of our idea about leadership has been sort of from the point of dominance. And what we're transitioning from the world of the era of planning and moving on is this different way of leadership, a different sense of authority where everybody gets to honor their personal authority. And that's not mutiny. It's, I think there still will be designated leaders, but the question I would ask is, am I listening, 13, rounding into the ground and balance of the 7, am I listening to my authority so I can hear my voice, my ability to make decisions correctly for me? And is the person I'm electing, and it doesn't matter if it's a politician or a minister or an educator or a doctor, any of that stuff where we give our authority away, is this person's leadership representing me? Because I get to vote whether I'm still going to participate with them or not, according to what's correct for me. And that's how we actually elect our collected people. So I just wanted to say that, check in whether you believe your own body.
Right.
And let your body lead you, and then the leadership will be starting to fall into place correctly.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Thank you so much for that. And Lori, did you have one more thing you wanted to add?
Yes, I calculated when we get connected again. It's August 11th, very early in the morning and late in the day, on the 10th over on the East Coast. So when the moon moves into the 19, we'll have the 1949, and then Mars moves into, I'm sorry, what your words are.
Maturing energy. Yeah.
That moves into the 8. So we have the
1-8.
1-8 gets connected.
Yeah.
So we'll have definition soon.
Well, thank you for looking that up, Lori. Excellent. Beautiful. Well, again, really amazing conversation. And, just to wrap things up, I love what Anna just said about, really honoring our own leadership and how we lead our own lives and paying attention to that, because again, with the people that we choose to work with who are authorities or leaders, making sure that, do they have our interests at heart or not? And again, really, really, truly trusting ourselves and our own leadership as well. Beautiful. Well, it has been an amazing BG5 Live. Thank you, each and every one of you who participated. Great to hear those of you on Facebook as well as live in our Zoom room. And of course, Anna and Andy, always a pleasure speaking with you as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous week. And next week, we'll be taking a look at 2 traits. All right, everyone, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.